Hey guys, so I've got a carpet job here, and it's a little smelly. Got an animal in here. It's a little wet. It's gotten a little wet, kind of gross, and so we're gonna replace it with some luxury vinyl planks. This stuff is really super easy to use. It looks really good. It's waterproof, and the thing I like about these is that they come with their own underlayment on them, and that they are kind of self-adhesive. It's technically a floating kind of floor. I'm probably wrong about that, whatever. But basically you just rip up the carpet, rip up the padding, get all the staples out, all the tacks out, and then you slap this stuff together. Now it's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's approximately $245 right now. We got the room cleared out. I'm getting ready to rip up the carpet. Just thought I would show just how easy this stuff is to work with, and you can follow along. And here we go.
Okay, so your first step is going to be ripping up the carpet, and you don't have to do this. I do it just to make it a little more manageable, and I cut it down the middle. You can cut it to as many pieces as you want. That way you can maybe put it into a trash can, don't have to go to the dump if your trash company will allow it. But anyway, I cut it into a couple pieces. Had some great helpers here, as you can see. We made quick work of the carpet. This is 11 by 13 room, so not too huge. Then taking up your carpet pad. Fortunately, this carpet pad wasn't as gross as I was suspecting it might be, so that's always good. Sometimes they're pretty nasty, pretty gnarly to deal with. This one wasn't too bad. It just had a cable that I had to run back in, and showing my boys how to properly roll up some carpet pad, teach them all the things. The biggest and most painful step of this whole process is actually taking up the carpet tack and then taking care of all the staples. That's why you recruit the good helpers to do some of that stuff. So they get out there with some pliers and start getting some sweat equity going here and ripping up staples. Took him a while, and you can see my son wearing headphones there because he thought it was a little loud with me prying up the tack. And then of course make sure that the surface of the floor is clean. Spent a lot of time sweeping here. I also was surprised to see that the subfloor, which was just OSB, had been painted, which was awesome. Not the case in other rooms in the house where I had to replace the floor. So now we begin actually running our first run, and we're pretty quickly 2 whole rows in. This stuff goes really fast, especially if you got a flush wall. Big important thing to note is you need to start on a wall that is straight, because if you start your run on it with that's straight, you're gonna have a lot better time as you continue to go through it. Things you're really watching for here is just how easy the planks click into place, making sure there's no gaps. If you do have some gaps, you can see here I'm using a rubber mallet. I'm not hammering directly onto it. You'll see why in a minute. But using another scrap piece to kind of lock those into place. Sometimes you just have to motivate them a little bit to move. This is where you start running into the first little pieces. There was not much to cut on this job, which was fantastic, but when you cut around door frames and a little bit the register, those do take a little bit of planning, but they're really pretty simple to work with, and again, it's going really fast here. And my wife comes in, decides she wants to do some painting, so you'll see her there in a minute. But we're moving pretty fast, making sure that my lines are looking good and that I'm not creating a weird pattern. And let's show you how to actually do a run here so that you can see what it actually looks like. And if you've never worked with this stuff before, again, super easy to work with.
Okay, so around the edges, you want to make sure you leave, the box says a 1/2 inch gap. I usually leave closer to a 1/4 inch. It's not exact, it's not precise. Basically, it gives it room to expand and contract and all the things that wood does, even though this isn't actually wood. The house does. Anyway, that's what they say. You cover it with trim anyway. It doesn't have to be beautiful on the edges. I thought I'd show you what you need to do when you get to the end of a run. It's going pretty fast here, as you can probably see. It's not been too long, been maybe a couple hours since we started the whole thing. So these things, what they do is they have these tongue and grooves here. So they lock into this notch first, and then they lift up, lock into these, and then they come down and they should be flush. If you have any areas where you get some gaps, like I did, basically you're gonna wind up with a scrap piece anyway. So what I do is I take one that I'm not worried about boogering up the edges. I lock it in place and then I just hit it with the rubber mallet, and that sucks in any of the pieces that aren't quite gapped right. They are a little bit finicky. These tongue and groove deals are kind of, well, this I hit with a hammer, so don't look at that, but they are a little bit flimsy, so you kind of got to watch them. But that's that. So figured I'd show you what to do when you get to the end of a run and you want to take a plank and you want to make sure you have the correct end. This is the end that is going to lock into here. So instead of going here, now you could measure, but the quicker way to do it is to flip this over, because you want to save this edge and you want to line it up here. You want to get it kind of lined up with the end where you want it, leaving your approximate gap. Again, they have spacers for this. I just kind of eyeball it and it's going to be close enough. Then you get to your edge here, you grab your square, which I left across the room. Here, let me do this. There, hopefully that's better. So, you're gonna get your square. You're gonna find your edge here. Important to use a square here because you wanna have straight cuts. I'm not really a perfectionist by any means, but you know, straight cuts are important. So I'll mark it. You don't have to mark it. I don't know why I do. And then you're gonna score it. This is the most beautiful thing about luxury vinyl. No million trips to the table saw. You score it about 3 times and then watch this. Boom. Now I'm gonna score it on the other side, like so. And there she is. Now I'm gonna take my good piece, and I got the correct end. I'm gonna lock it into the groove here. I'm gonna slide it forward. Sometimes it'll fight you a little bit, and boom, when there's no gaps, there it is. And then we continue our run. We start the next run with this piece. So you don't have the same line pattern, and so that you can have everything look all nice and neat and according to plan.
Now I do the high-tech fancy measurement, and I got lucky. It landed right in the middle of a plank. So that was good. I didn't have too short of a side on the other side, and I was able to measure it out, and it kind of worked out perfectly. I couldn't have drawn it up better myself. Then I dig out all the crap my toddler has dropped down the vent.
Now for this, I will use a power tool. Obviously, I could use a knife and cut it, but I'm just going to use a power tool to save myself some trouble. Okay. These edges are going to be covered by the register anyway, so they're not perfect. I'm not stressed. Clean all this up in a little bit. This is just a test fit. Not be dipped. It works. Let's get the register. And she fits in there just fine. Probably gonna swap that out for a white one. We'll see. Anyway, onward we go.
And now we get to the last run of the whole floor, and this is where the cutting comes into play. Again, this stuff is super easy to work with. Cutting around the door here, and of course I'm a bonehead and I cut it backwards. I needed to leave the middle far long to go into the door, and I did the opposite of that, and I figured that out after I've already finished cutting it. But again, you're gonna have scrap, you're gonna buy extra, it's okay. You live, you learn. Fortunately, I didn't have a lot of cutting to do. So I got that in, and then I had to start trimming down. I had to take about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch off of each plank. The most challenging part of this, and you can see me using the pry bar here, is actually getting them to lock into place because you don't have the angle to kind of bend it up and lock it into place. So I was able to use the pry bar to pry it up and kind of put some pressure on it, and it kind of locked into place. So that was super handy. And you get to the most beautiful site of the whole floor, and that is the last piece. And hopefully everything is nice and square in your room and everything lined up perfectly.
And there it is. It is now 6:39. So if my math is correct, I believe we started at 2:45. I don't know. I'll look back at it and I'll correct it. But anyway, a couple hour job. This is an 11 by 13 room. It took us just a little over 6 boxes. Naturally, there's gonna be some scrap along the way. You make mistakes like a bozo like I do. Hopefully you can work around them, but there it is. I mean, I'm no perfectionist, but you know, it's just not too shabby. And then my wife decided she was gonna paint the wall while we were doing this, and there you go. It's the schoolroom, and looks pretty darn good. It's not too shabby. Let's see, what was I working with here? Got this stuff from Menards. It is the Peyton collection. Luxury vinyl plank with attached pad. Rigid core construction. Anyway, spring birch. I think it was, here you go, 10 planks per carton. Anyway, we had 11 by 13. So I think it ended up being like something like $1.39 per square foot. So that's great. So that's pretty darn cheap for something that's going to be waterproof. It's going to be more durable than carpet, and with animals and children, that's always a good thing in my book. So anyway, I'm no pro. This video is not made for pros. This is for do-it-yourselfers, people who want to do a project like this, but maybe a little intimidated, don't know how it works. Hopefully this saves you some time. Hopefully this convinces you that you can do it. And I hope you can see that this is not that complicated to do, so don't let it overwhelm you. Just some tricks you'll learn along the way. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. And hope you enjoyed this, hope it helped. I'm gonna go take a shower.